Hey guys, it's Matt. I'm going to show some images. I'm going to bounce around to some websites, but there's nothing you really need to see here if you're driving. I'm not going to talk too much about this movie, The Internship, with Vince Vaughn and is this Owen Wilson, I guess? They brought these two out together in Wedding Crashers, and they had a good chemistry. It was pretty funny, and they did a few other movies. This movie was on. I came across it, and I watched. I don't know. I guess I watched about an hour of it. And it's funny. I mean, there's some funny parts. They are two older guys that sign up for the internship at Google. But it got me thinking about one thing. The purpose of this video is how this system that we try to study and interpret. I mean, one of their biggest cannon in the arsenal is the fact that people go to one search engine to find the answers to absolutely everything. And obviously we knew this, but there's several scenes in this movie where Vince Vaughn, as older guys, they don't know the answer to something. I don't know exactly how it's presented, but the kids in the internship that they're interning with are like, dude, here we're at Google, just Google it. Anything. There's three or four scenes where even there's a part here which one rabbit hole leads to another. I want to talk about this for a few minutes. They have Paul Allen's inside of Google. They have Paul Allen's Spaceship One. I mean, there's some weird script that has to run through the reality that these billionaires have to be dabbling in space. It is absolutely ludicrous. But maybe it's their first day there. I'm not sure. Owen Wilson meets the, I don't know, attractive manager at Google who's older, who he's immediately falling for and interested in, and he's trying to, immediately hit on her. He's walking under this Spaceship One and it's hanging in the lobby, I guess. And he says to her, "Was that really in space?" And of course, she's like, "Oh, you're here at Google. Just Google it." So we'll talk about Spaceship One in a little bit. I mean, what a joke that is. Like the Richard Branson stuff they're dusting that tired old story off. But how masterful it is that they have an entire world going into a box to look for what is real, what is reality, what is history, how does something really work, what is space. Everybody goes into the same box, and the box can simply, with no, there basically no effort versus whatever had to be done in the past to convince somebody. It just shows the mind-controlled answer back in an instant. I mean, if you told these creeps 50 years ago, well, somebody would be yelling at me saying, well, they had the technology then, Matt. Well, maybe they did. But you know what? Let's just go with it. If you told them 50 years from now, we won't have to work hard to convince anybody that certain things are happening or how politics works. They're going to, on their own, they're going to go into a box. They're going to type it in. And we'll have all the answers all laid out for the search results. We'll show them the history exactly that we want to show them. We'll show them the politics that exactly we want. We'll show them the problems that are happening in the country with race and well, does that wait a yes question? That basically means we can make up the answer, fabricate the answer. There doesn't really have to be anything going on the ground. They'll just search and they'll be shown reality that why do we even have to have it make it real? Or maybe nothing out there. We might show them something if they actually were to get off the couch and drive there. There's nothing there. Exactly. Who are you, sir? And have you, what's your rank here in the Illuminati? You're going to move up fast. Get his name. Get his name. Or her name, or New York pronoun. Sorry. We're not, we're inclusive here at the Illuminati window table, Chernobyl Control Center. So exactly. I mean, this guy is real snarky. They're on a team together, an internship team. He's real snarky to Vince Vaughn for half the movie, and he's like, "Hey, you old effer, just Google it." And he's trying to say how something works, and this guy is on Google at the same time, and he's like, "No, you're wrong, old man. You got what sides you got, old man?" You're wrong. He's like, what do you mean I'm wrong about that? And he just holds up his phone. He's like, Google says something else. Oh, and they all bow down to it. Like, are you kidding me? How did they pull this off? It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. How do they pull this off? And they'll make it seem like there are, Matt, there are other if you look up the official statistics, Google doesn't get all the search. No, yeah, what is that? Did Google tell me the official statistics that there are other search engines being used? And come on, everybody we know uses Google. You probably go to, well, a lot of people here might not, but like like the search engine you're using is this altruistic one that's on its own, that's in no way part of the system. It's just bucking the trend like cryptocurrency. I mean, come on. I mean, it all, to me, maybe I'm a little too cynical. It all comes from the same place anyway. So I think, oh, BitChute trying to help us. I mean, that's a separate thing. Yeah, sure. Probably comes from the same server as YouTube or the old servers. So it doesn't operate as efficiently. To me, it all comes from the same place, but I don't want to get, did I just was about to say I don't want to get too conspiratorial? I mean, you're already going into insane asylum land. I mean, why do you have to say that? So this is very interesting, and you really think about what they were able to pull off here with having everybody go into the same box. And let's just go through a few examples of this. This was an email exchange back and forth with our good friend who provides a lot of interesting information and stuff to the channel, Izzo. Um, Now, we were going back and forth about, well, I sent him something that has to do with the old Zen Buddhism quote. What is it? Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. And I Googled it to see what, usually when you Google these things, the answers that come back versus what you and I would determine what this really means is just so much nonsense. And not that this is the bot that came from the Illuminati Control Center and the Chernobyl Center and the Illuminati window and all that. I mean, and guys, when I say that, I'm not, again, there's no, to me in this reality, there is no bad guy that you can point at. There is no, if you're new here, back room where they're sitting around laughing. They're all minions serving a greater reality or something we don't understand that stands behind the screen. So when I say that, it's just a mocking. I don't really think there's that final back room where Jared's serving or some control center. Obviously, anybody knew. I want to be clear on that. That's mocking that there is nothing to really point at. So whenever you do an exercise like this, anything important, Google will show you a bunch of nonsense to take you off the path of a real human being, whether the person that wrote it is a bot. That didn't make any sense. But a bot, a person that wrote it is not in on anything. They're just going to serve the greater reality and keep carrying forth the lie and the deception, thinking they're helping people. Or in some cases, whoever puts certain things together is maybe in the know and in on it. But nevertheless, when you Google important things, you almost never can get close to the truth on anything important. And it didn't take long for what came up the way I searched on top of the Google search results was this. And Izzo and I were going back and forth on the Zen Buddhism quote: before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. Well, what does that mean? Well, top of the Google search results, at least the way I searched it, it says four confusing Zen quotes and what you can learn from them. Even the title is not very friendly to the search, a real human being search for truth. Confusing. No, it's not confusing at all if you find enlightenment or you get your mind to the right frequency. These aren't confusing at all. That's the whole point. They're confusing if you're not enlightened. They're not. So just the way this is worded, the whole point of these quotes is they are confusing, but nobody's tuned themselves to the right part of the dial to understand them. Once you tune yourself to the right part of the dial, well, it seems to be very simple. So I knew there would be a bunch of nonsense here. So let's see what it says. Um, Again, it says if you're driving before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. It says in these geniuses at lifehacker.com push to the front of the Google search results. Maybe everybody's trying, but Google will just say, "Oh, there's some bullshit. Let's push that bullshit to the top. Let's push that bullshit to the top of the Google search results." People try, and Google on its own, because it has access to the Akashic records. No, because it has access to the Library of Alexandria and the Vatican Library and stuff. It can compare kind of, what's real. Maybe this is a bad example of that, to the deception they want to push, and then it'll just push search results up to the top. So yeah, if you're trying to do search engine optimization and search results come to the top, just create an answer in your website that misleads people. Google will find it and push you to the top of the search results. That's probably the best SEO strategy ever laid down. But anyway, it says many of us, okay, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. Many of us get caught up in the end results of what we're working toward, or the way things will be when we finally achieve something. But the truth is that getting to where you want to go or being successful doesn't mean that the work that led you there goes away. Achieving your version of, quote, enlightenment is not an endpoint in and of itself. You'll need to do the same things after in order to keep moving forward. There's a Zen philosophy that says the way a person does one thing is the way they do everything. All right, come on, look at this nonsense. We get caught up in the end results of what we're working on, um, and or the way things will be when we finally achieve them. Well, that's true, but the truth is that getting to where you want to go or being successful doesn't mean that the work that led you there goes away. Yeah, if you got it, that's all it means. That's all it means. Because I'm on a path to enlightenment, but if I don't milk those cows out, the work's, Matt, honey, the work's still got to be done. You can't just sit on your computer all day. If those cows' udders will swell if you don't get out. Oh, yeah, the work's still got to be done. The work doesn't just go away. And achieving the enlightenment is not the end point of itself. That those cows still got to be milked. That's all it is. That's all it is. Those geniuses, those Buddhist monks at the top of the Himalayas. That's all it meant. Um, anyway, it's obvious, guys, what it means if you're on the right frequency, like most of us are here. At least, you might have a different take on it. I don't think it's meant to have one meaning, of course. That's the point of these things. But to me, it means, um, I'm working in a cubicle at an insurance company in the 90s, and this is my before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. Alarm clock went off 6:30 in the morning when I lived in San Francisco. Walk to work, same route. One or two times a guy squatted down next to me and relieved himself on the streets of San Francisco, mostly south of Market is where that stuff takes place. But same thing every day. I'm chopping wood, carrying water, going to the damn cubicle. Get a call from this real nasty boss who was in Delaware. No, Zara, it's not time for that, sweetie. Um, but then after enlightenment, it doesn't mean go back to the cube, return to the insurance company. It means you go back to the menial tasks, or what is the menial task at your point in life. For me, it is literally now chop wood, carry water, do a lot of work outside. That tree should have almost killed me. A lot of chainsawing, things like that, wood burning stove, all of that. But you go back and do those tasks with a completely new perception of yourself. So it's still it doesn't mean I go back into the insurance company cube. It's the menial tasks then. There are menial tasks now. It's still got to get up in the morning, still have to do the work, still have to do the cat litter. But your whole after enlightenment, you do the same menial task, but your whole perception of who you are in doing it and what's going on has changed. The no attachments, the appreciation is a main thing with me. I mean, I'll do cat litter, and when the poop is hard, or a little not real hard, that's bad for a cat, but the right consistency. I take pleasure in that because I know my cats are healthy in the poop. I'm not kidding you. So this is the after continue to chop wood, carry water, continue to chainsaw wood, do cat litter, but the whole perception is different. Not that, oh, I have to do this to get to something important, that this is like all I want to do. The appreciation of it, the leaving behind the rat race, the chase. So I'm not sure this person really gets it, but they're probably tuned down the frequency. And I'm not sure I described that properly. It's also, you could include the Lou Gehrig today, a really good looking cat litter. Oh, today I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. From cat litter? Yeah, after enlightenment. And I don't think I'm enlightened. I don't. I'm not that arrogant. I feel I have a lot of work to do. I feel like I've tuned myself to the right dial on the radio in that example, and then now is when the floodgates open up in terms of an understanding. I still believe I've a long way to go, and maybe that's also a meaning here. It's not there. You always have to keep working. It's not going to just come to you and you fly up in the air like one of those sentinels in that horrible series Raised by Wolves. You're just going to keep chopping wood, carrying water. So anyway, guys, this is a great example of how and I'm going to get to my favorite example of all time of how Google misleads. Well, let's just before we get to that one, let's just jump over here to some Spaceship One. I mean, are you kidding me? What? Let's have a laugh at this. What a joke. So again, somebody's watching The Internship, and oh wow, I didn't realize there was that space. Google has a spaceship? What? Well, Google it. Let's find out about it. Google it. Yeah, okay. So associated with Paul Allen, it says here, spaceship. This is what's hanging in the. Oh, before I read this, guys, it's hanging in the lobby of Google. Before I read this, he says, Owen Wilson says to the attractive manager in her 30s. He's immediately hitting on the first day. He shows up at Google. He starts sexually harassing his managers. He says, he can't. He has to think of anything cute to say. Was that? He goes. He points out. Was that in space? And of course, this is where they reiterate. Well, you're here at Google. Google it, dude. But see, she doesn't say yes or no. She doesn't say it's like a subtle truth drop. Of course she's not going to say, "Oh yeah, it was in space. It's called Spaceship One." Why would he even ask if it's called Spaceship One? She says nothing of yes or no. She doesn't confirm or deny. Well, tells you it wasn't in space. Anyway, so you look it up. It says it's an experimental air-launched rocket-powered aircraft with suborbital flight capabilities, speeds up to 3,000 feet per second, associated with Paul Allen, because every billionaire has to, of course, get involved in space. That's just the script that they hand these billionaires. It's like, we're going to make you a billionaire. You are? With us? You are? Yeah, we're going to make you a billionaire. Oh, what do I have to do? Yeah. Oh, no, I heard the billionaires we have to run around and push the V. And for some of you, not you, you have to get involved in space. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. It won't be as cool as you think. You're gonna have to just do a few favors for us. Okay, we could go through this, but there's no. This is called Spaceship One. If you dig down into this, it didn't go anywhere. It went up really, really, really high, like a U-2 plane. I mean, it didn't do anything. It's called suborbital, and then in the fine print it'll say it didn't really go into space the way the space shuttle faked that it did. So it is just a bunch of nonsense. I'm sure it probably really took off and really flies, and that's not really hard. I mean, the Soviet Union and, Stalin signed off on a plane that went up to 70 or 80,000 feet. It's not that tough. And wherever Yuri Gagarin probably got to even 100,000 feet. I don't think he went anywhere else, but so it's not a big deal for a billionaire to have somebody draw up a plane. And now they've recycled back this what is his name? Sir Richard Branson. Sir Richard Branson. Yeah, make sure you don't forget the sir. He deserves that moniker, doesn't matter, of success. So then what is Google in terms of pointing you to the wrong places? These are my favorites. And this one is the most dumbed down one. What is that eye on the back of the dollar bill related to the Eye of Providence? I've talked about this 20 times, but it's you can't talk about it enough. It's so fascinatingly ridiculous. So this one is like what you get, the normal presentation you get. We'll go over it. This is the dumbest presentation you'll ever get on the internet. But so let's do that last for a laugh. What the eye in every conspiracy theory actually means. This is Business Insider, a Business Insider. That the Chernobyl Control Center really loves to use Business Insider for just misleading the public, of which they use thousands of things, but this seems to show up quite a bit. Films such as National Treasure love to play on conspiracy theories, and The Eye of Providence is a favorite that shows up again and again. With us, what is this? What is this thing? Probably seen this eye in a conspiracy theories. Make sure the conspiracy theory word is worked in 4 or 5 times. But the symbol's meaning in creation actually have nothing to do with any of that. It has nothing to do with any of that. Of course it doesn't. Conspiracy people. Don't you know? Everybody's innocent in here. Who would think that? Conspiracies. It shows an eye, often surrounded by rays of light, enclosed by a triangle. Oh, it does? I've never noticed the back of the dollar bill. Thanks for describing it. Artists used it to represent the all-seeing eye of God. Yeah, what God? The 3 points of the triangle represent the Christian mythology. Christian mythology, that's real nice to Christians. All right, just throw in the mythology. That makes you feel good if you're a Christian. Represents the Christian myth of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Oh, of course it does. Of course it does. The rays of light are stand-ins. Stand-ins. The rays of light are stand-ins for holiness and divinity. This is like an onslaught on Christianity just in one little paragraph or one little box. Stand-ins for holiness and divinity, which says to a Christian, I'm not Christian, I'm neutral, guys, but I'm just defending the Christians in this regard. It says that the holiness and divinity of your God or Jesus can't be here. This is a stand-in on the back of the dollar bill. One of the first known appearance of it is in this painting, Supper of Emmanuus, Supper Club of Emmanuus, painted for the Carthusians. What the hell is that? If you go even farther back in history, you can find an eye being used in ancient Egyptian times. For example, Katy Perry used it in a video. For example, the Eye of Horus belongs to Horus. What? Did it really just? Who wrote this? And how did the editor approve it? For example, the Eye of Horus belongs to Horus. That makes sense. These Business Insider people are really, really good with their inductive and deductive reasoning. Now, Horus is the sky god, often depicted as a falcon, or other weird things in that horrible movie, The Gods of Egypt. It's a falcon's eye. Didn't it just say that? A bot must have written this, and a real dumb one at that. The Eye of Horus belongs to Horus, the sky god, often depicted as a falcon. It's a falcon's eye. Oh, yeah, it's a falcon's eye on the back of the dollar bill, but any first grader can pick it up and see the eyebrow. It has an eyebrow, but it's a falcon's eye. Oh, I see. Fast forward to the founding of the United States, it ended up on the back of the Great Seal on top of the pyramid. Why? Why? Stephen C. Bullock. Who's Stephen C. Bullock? And why should I trust him? Sandra Bullock's husband. Why should I trust him? The pyramid is a sign of strength and survival and long lasting. And that's showing that the new nation is going to survive and last a long time. And it's built on 13 steps, meaning the 13 new states, the 13 former colonies. No, they picked 13 original colonies because of the occult power and the gematria power that the number 13 carries in and of itself. They went with 13 to facilitate the manifestation of reality by using the number 13. It wasn't the other way around. You jerks. Stephen C. Bullock. I think I might have even covered this one before. It seems familiar to me, but you can't laugh at it enough. You can't, but I'm going to get to the real dumb one, guys, in a second. It was a few years later that the Freemasons started using the eye. Yeah, some think it's the Masons' way of projecting their own watchful power, but it's actually the opposite. They have no watchful power, it's the opposite. What does that mean, the opposite? It doesn't even say. Can I have another sentence here? Stephen C. Bullock, husband of Sandra Bullock. The all-seeing eye of God was designed for Freemasons, was designed to be a message to themselves. They do a lot of odes to themselves, the power structure. There's no doubt about that. It says, quote, "We are being watched over. Therefore, we need to live up to the standards not only of not only religion, but also Freemasonry, reminding themselves to keep their own strict moral standards." Blah, 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 blah. Other conspiracies say the eye on the seal of the United States and the dollar bill means the government is always watching us. No, they're not watching. Every single tweet is analyzed in the sentient world simulation. Every single Facebook post, YouTube video, YouTube comment, email, phone conversations, but nah, who would think that? Anyway, how did the symbol get so tarnished? It tarnished itself in the way the power and control structure does business by placing hot iron pokers up people's behinds. It tarnished itself. If we had a giant control structure that was just out to help people, and friendly letters from the government, what can I do? Not ask what your government can do for you, not Kennedy's ask what you can do for your government. Sorry, Kennedy, I would like to have been in that audience in your inaugural. I'd like to stand up and put my hand up. There's a guy waving his hand during the inaugural. Kennedy's actually going to take the question. He is with us. Sir, your government will eventually become a $4 trillion Jabba the Hutt behemoth on steroids times a million to the nth power to the M to the end of the M. It's a Jay-Z song. When it becomes a $4 trillion wasteoid behemoth, don't you think I have a right to say what it can do for me? At $4 trillion, what is it going to do for me? I'm giving it the $4 trillion amongst others. So why don't I have the right to say, ask what the government will do for you? And you're telling me to ask not. I'm sorry, Mr. Kennedy. Your government is only a $1.2 trillion behemoth. So you're right. At a $1.2 trillion level, sir, I should ask what I could do for it. But, there'll be no money. But upon your deathbed, you'll receive total consciousness. We want no effort from you, and we don't want any of your works or your sweats or your labors. We just want more of your money. Not that we need it, because we can print whatever we want. It's just for control. Oh, I see. Kennedy said. Any other questions in the audience before I continue on? Is that where he didn't? That's not the man on the moon speech. That was something different. All right, let's just go over here and laugh at this one. That creepy eye on the back of the dollar bill explained. All right, marketplace.org. That creepy eye on the back of the dollar bill explained by Nancy Marshall Gensler in 2014. Now, this woman, if she really wrote this and it was not retarded bot driven, she's one of the dumbest people on the face of the earth. Incredible she has any sort of writing job anywhere in the world. And it's probably a bot. There's a computer server in one of Hillary's closets, and it's called Nancy Marshall Gensler. So let's see what it says. First thing to remember, there are lots of, here we go again. The bot has to use the word conspiracy theory all over the place. There are lots of conspiracy theories about the dollar bill's eye and pyramid. I wanted to see which ones were most popular, so I headed to the Bureau of Engraving and Printing in downtown Washington to do my own informal street survey. First up, Ginny Cochran, who actually works at the Mint. She actually works for the government in the Treasury in the Mint, a manager in the Mint. This is what she says. Her theory, quote, something to do with the Masons. And I know it goes farther back than that. This person, this Nancy, who trudged all the way down to the Treasury on the behalf of marketplace.org, she finds a manager of senior position and title. Oh, we got Ginny Cochran. She says, this is the way it should have sounded based on the intelligence of what she put into Nancy's piece here. It should have sounded something like this. Uh, it's got something to do with the Masons, and I know it goes farther back than that. That's all you got, Ginny? You do work at the Mint here. You're not on like some tour, right? You were brought in with some tour group. The way that tour group was led through the Vatican in was it European Vacation? It was what's that called? The tour group that was led. It was called Eurotrip. It was called Eurotrip. That the tour that was led through the Vatican. That I think did it light the Pope's hat on fire? Anyway, it's pretty much which that's Ginny Cochran's level. She also goes on to say, well, it does go way back to the founding of our country. Some of the founding fathers were Masons, and the eye has become a Masonic symbol. Really? But it was actually added by an engraver who wasn't a Mason. Oh yeah, sure, I'm sure. So yeah, the engraver, they got this guy to work on the Great Seal of the United States. Does anybody, Ben Franklin and Hamilton, any of your guys want to be involved in what's going to become the Great Seal of the United States with the Masonic references and occult um, double, triple, quadruple meanings? And nah, we don't need to work on that. It's going to be the Great Seal of the United States on the back of the dollar bill, something we try to derive power from. Just we got a guy down the road. He's an engraver with us, an engraver. He's going to do it. Why should we outsource it? Don't we want to keep that in house? Ben, he's doing it half price. Half. Read my lips. Read the words that are coming out of my mouth, Ben. Half price. Well, let him do it. Let him do it. To this engraver down the road, whose shop is next to Betsy Ross's, he wants to add this eye. He wants to add a what? He wants to add an eye into the Great Seal. Why? I don't know. Nobody's asked him yet. See, it's so absurd, guys. The meanings of these things go back. It's so deep. It's so dark, in my opinion. But it's just, remember the scene in Animal House with Kevin Bacon? Thank you, sir. Can I have another? Getting that type of initiation. It's that creepy times 1,000 as to the decision to put these types of power symbols on something that every person touches daily, or at least they did when people were using more cash. But for somebody in the mint to put forward this type of just idiotic explanation, and the people believe it. I mean, the people believe that this Nancy really went in and this was the best the manager in the mint could come up with. And if anybody's screaming at me that the managers and the middle managers in the mint don't know themselves, of course, you're right. Of course they don't. Of course they don't. That's a very good point. Maybe the person was that dumb, who Ginny Cochran was that dumb. It was actually added. All the creepy stuff was added by an engraver who wasn't a Mason. Oh, really? Okay. Half price. The kid that was trying to get $2 from um, what's his name? And was it Better Off Dead? Um, $2. The official term is that the eye of providence. Wait. The official term is that's the eye of providence. Don't you want to capitalize it? Some some bot with a computer virus wrote this. I mean, there's no way. The eye of God in some general way. Says Stephen Bullock. This is the guy shows up again. See, this isn't bot related. I just two completely random. Now they were of course in the first page of Google for the way I searched it, but Stephen Bullock here shows up again on the same exact subject. A history professor at Worcester Polytechnic. Who's this Stephen Bullock? How does he keep popping up every time anybody wants to analyze in a retarded way what the eye of providence means? And so Nancy continues, so, okay, but where did the pyramid come from? The next theory from my impromptu survey comes from 9-year-old Brian Bush. I had to carry the Bush name into this interview. 9-year-old Brian Bush. So this genius, Nancy, she went into the mint. Looks like she's trying to get to the bottom of something, but then she went out. She went out on the street to talk to a 9-year-old about it. Actually, it's very insightful. The 9-year-old would have better answers than someone in the mint who isn't going, either not going to know or is going to intensely try to mislead. Maybe so the 9-year-old says, "Where'd the pyramid come from?" 9-year-old, maybe King Tut. The 9-year-old says, that might be his pyramid. That's right. Of course, the mind of a child. He found a child Jedi in that middle stinker, found the lost system for Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he found that lost system for Yoda. The mind of a child. He found the lost system. Maybe somebody erased it from the Jedi archives. Say this is the mind of a child. Always just, or it's a truth drop. Maybe King Tut. Exactly. Of course, they'll try to trace their heritage back. Um, Whoever decided to put that creepy stuff all over the dollar bill and laid out Washington D.C. with all that creepiness. Of course, they're probably in love with their heritage going back to ancient Egypt and Babylon, and I don't understand that stuff. But when Cairo, Egypt, in the middle of the CV crisis, and apparently like $500 billion down in tourism, nobody's going to see the pyramids, nobody's coming in. In the middle of that, they spend $500 million in this grand spectacle, moving the tombs and moving the mummy bodies to new locations, and have a giant national holiday for $500 million. Of course, that you don't just do that in the middle of, if anything were real, in the middle of the CV. And it is a crisis for countries that rely on tourism. Of course, it would be. Nobody went. No, it's not a conspiracy. The flights didn't go for a year, so of course those countries are hurting more than most. So it has to be an ode to themselves. It has to be, and their heritage. But do I know anything? It's just, what else could it be? I just use the Sherlock Holmes. You use the Sherlock Holmes approached. Use the Sherlock Holmes approach with a sprinkle of understanding their creepiness, and you can kind of get to the truth of what might be going on. Of course, all of that is a screen exercise that has nothing to do with what we have to figure out ourselves, which goes back to chop wood, carry water. That's all. That's the most important part. Quote, the pyramid was seen as a kind of human structure that lasted out the ages, says Bill Ellis, a professor emeritus of American Studies at Penn State. Oh, my boy at Penn State shows up. Is that where my tuition went? To Bill Ellis to contribute in the most dumbest down article of all time on what this stuff is. That's really wonderful. That's where my tuition dollars went. See, the pyramids put on the back of the dollar bill to show that there are human structures that can last out the ages. And he says the founding fathers wanted the country to last as long as the pyramids. Oh, I see. Okay. But the pyramids and I didn't show up on the dollar bill until 1935. It started out as part of our Great Seal. It ain't my Great Seal. Don't you include me in that R. Just say the Great Seal of the Corporation of the United States. FDR, well, that's true. FDR, well, that's true according to Google. I wasn't in the room. With his Treasury Secretary, or I believe it was actually the Secretary of Agriculture, if it's coming back to me. Truth drop there? Yeah, but I don't know what it means. He added the Great Seal to the dollar bill. FDR did. That wonderful human being took personal income taxes to 94%. That's not a joke. Maybe I'm wrong by a percentage or two, at least 92%. That brings us to our conspiracy theory. Oh, here we go. Always got to have conspiracy theory. Got to put that in. Got to belittle those that actually think for themselves. Courtesy of Andrew Epting, who was waiting for a bus near the Mint. I don't blame this woman, Nancy. She didn't get no satisfaction inside the Mint. So she had to go out on the street. She says, this guy who's waiting for a bus near the Mint, she went out and tracked down a 9-year-old. He says, New World Order. It's very folklorish. What? It's very folklorish. What does that mean? Oh my goodness, I don't know. I'm just gonna pass it over. I don't know what to say about that. New Order. Yeah, I love the New Order, the Substance, a double CD. It's a white CD cover, one of my first compact discs. It does say that in Latin under the pyramid, says Nancy, who's writing this article. Historians say that refers to the birth of a new country. Oh, which historians? And FDR just liked the way it jived with his New Deal. But for conspiracy theorists, the words New Order on the dollar bill were a signal that the U.S. government had been taken over by evil forces. Have been taken over by evil forces. Okay. Okay, first off, Nancy, It doesn't just say New Order, like the techno band that composed music on their computer, starting in the 80s. New Order, Substance. What is it? Most Bizarre Love Triangle. There you go. Oh my God, here it comes. Bizarre Love Triangle. There you go. It goes. It all relates back to the back of the dollar bill. Everything does. New Order. I'm just telling you. Just hit me. Bizarre Love Triangle, the most famous song from Substance disc 1. Disc 2, it was horrible. Whenever you go to open up, this is my college experience. Oh, you go to a party, there's 20, 25 people, an apartment party or whatever, or a dorm party, and somebody has New Order Substance, the double CD. And I loved the first disc is great, really catchy techno type beats before techno really existed, I guess. But the first disc was always stolen or it was misplaced. You'd open the double disc up and there'd be nothing in the first spot. It was always disc two, and you're like, no, I'm not putting in disc two. It's horrible, the second part. So it's not New Order on the back of the dollar bill. It says either New Order of the Ages, and some say Seclorum, New Order of the Secular Age. So that Nancy can't even get that right, but FDR just liked the way it jived. Did that come from the engraver down the road too, that was doing it for half price too? That wasn't part of their inner circle. He just decided to create the eye on his own, and he's taking a lot of liberties, this engraver. I mean, even though we're paying him half price, who told him he could take these liberties? He's putting on new he's putting in Latin on the back, New World Order. I like the way it jives. FD, well, this was done way before FDR. He didn't have to put it on the back of the dollar bill if he didn't like the way it jives. But then the conspiracy theorists, it says here, believe that the government has been taken over by evil forces. No, we don't. We do not believe that at all, that the government has been taken over by evil forces. But let's be clear. We believe it was founded, the evil force has always been here. Taken over implies like a start date or something you can point to, or the JFK assassination. Like, this is when it happened, right? No, it's the evil, the Lochnar, the green thing that came from space. It's always been here. It's been, or as per recorded time, there's nothing you can point at. So if you want to quote me and my whacked out brethren conspiracy theories, you better get it right. Taken over implies that's why they love the JFK assassination. Oh, it was pure and beautiful and wonderful, and it was the golden age of kumbaya up to the JFK assassination. Not for Black Americans. That separate water fountain was like 4 miles away, but in many parts of the South. But it was kumbaya before JFK. But then that's when that's when it went downhill. That's when the deep state showed itself. That's when the coup d'etat happened. So Epting says about what the conspiracy people say, that evil force is here, that he says that's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. That's all they can say about us. We're crazy. I'm glad we have video games and TV to take people's minds off some of this stuff nowadays, he says, laughing. They're still talking to the guy at the bus stop. Of course, some video games actually revolve around conspiracy theories. Yeah, like most of them, especially Deus Ex, which was before the 7-Eleven job application in 2001. Deus Ex, who has a rendering of New York City without the WTC. The entire game is about the Illuminati, but what do we know? Is it any wonder there's so much conjecture about such a strange symbol? That no guy waiting to get on a bus said that. I think Nancy added that, but she ain't no genius either. Is it any wonder I've got too much time on my hands? So I know this is getting goofy, guys, but to go through this bullshit and not try. I was going to try to get laughs. It just delivers laughs on its own. I mean, you've got to be kidding me. So I remember, guys, we started here at the internship, and Google already has everybody using one box to find out what is real and what is reality, what is history. And this movie goes out of its way, not to push it because people are already there to. Maybe it's just again a mocking or an ode to themselves, where Vince, is like saying something about how something works, and he's like, nope. Google says you're wrong, old man. What side you got with that, old man? So this movie, the first 30 minutes is pretty funny, pretty darn funny, and then it gets pretty stupid and doesn't really go anywhere. But first 30 minutes, if you like these two together, especially when they're interviewing from the library. They interview, they lie about everything to get into Google. I don't that maybe that's a truth drop there. They're at a library and they're smushing their faces, and they don't know webcams. They're smushing their faces into the camera, and they're talking to each other. Well, here's what we're going to do. And before I, when I, they can't see us until I hit this button. Of course, they can. The Google people that are doing the interview can see everything. And they're like, are you two at a library? Let's see if I can find the internship interview. Just search it. Yeah, they're at this webcam. The Google people are, and they lie about everything. It's like, are you two at a library? They're like, no, we support. It's a kids foundation that we're really involved in, and they lie about that. And he lies and says they're enrolled in the University of Phoenix. He's a physics major, and it's just lie after lie after lie. And somehow they get into Google. See, maybe that is that a truth drop? Probably. And the Google people asked them these bizarre questions, bizarre scenarios. In spouting out the reputation of the University of Phoenix, says you guys might have heard that this is the online Harvard, the online, and of course University of Phoenix. It is of course a product placement. University of Phoenix, without a doubt, paid for the product placement. And the Google people are like the online Harvard. It's like no, we have not heard that. But they lie about everything as they're doing this this interview, and they get in. They get in. So you truth drop? Yeah, probably. Um, anyway, guys, thanks for sticking with me. And 30 first, if you like these two together, first 30 minutes is a lot of fun. It just gets dumb. I will see you soon.